Let me wipe this a little bit more because I don't know. I'm gonna make sure this is clear. It just looks like a crack on there. Know exactly where the camera is. I think it is there. Okay. So anyway, y'all, um, I wanted to start out like I'm gonna give you a little bit of background on why I take this bullying so serious. Is because when our kids and hi again, if I didn't say that. When our children go to school and they're with their teachers and counselors and they're with their peers and such, right? We, as parents, grandparents, whatever we may be, we should be comfortable enough to know that our children are as safe as they are when they are in our care. And so another thing is that when your children are being bullied at school, um, that throws them off from wanting to even go to school, even wanting to learn, even wanting to participate. It just throws them off. And so that's the reason why it's so serious to me. And another thing is that bullying can really escalate real quick and leave your children with lingering memories as far as them being bullied and stuff. So my son, we'll go to actually I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my oldest daughter who is now she's now off to college and stuff. But anyway, gorgeous little girl and stuff, and she's going to a different high school that she didn't go through that district, up until high school. So when it was time for her to go to high school, she went to a whole different district, right? And so a lot of times when this bullying occurs, it starts out with some kind of like jealousy and stuff. And what I always loved about my daughter and stuff, all of my kids are, they're beautiful children. You know what I mean? But they're very humble and they're not like, oh, I know I'm cute. And, have that kind of attitude. Like they get shy if you compliment them and stuff and barely want to compliment because it makes them thrown on. So anyway, it kind of starts out with her because she was like a newbie. Like we gonna pick on her, you know what I mean? She's not from our district and stuff. We gonna pick a target a child and stuff like that. And so what I got to the point that I would do is whenever any instances of bullying happen, if I felt like the school could not get the bullying under control, then, instead of me going just and keep going back to the principal and the counselors and it keep happening, what I would request is forget it. I want to meet with the parents because a lot of this stuff like bullying and all these types of things, they do kids get away with too much at home. Kids are allowed to, basically cuss and do whatever they please at home. And they, talk any kind of way at home. The parents are aware of what they gave birth to. And I think it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that their children are bullies. That's why whenever any of my children, and I have 5 children, whenever any of them have been bullied, I always, if it was just ongoing, I always would request, forget it. We're going to skip past this, and I want to have the counselor, the principal, and the parents of that child meet with me so we can come to a common ground to make sure that your child is not going to be bullying my child and disturb them and their learning, because that bullying stuff like I said, it can lead right on to when you're an adult and you're sitting there and you're reliving like when I was a child, I was bullied, and it causes a lot of insecurities, makes you uncomfortable, and you don't want to start relationships with certain people because you remember how you was treated as a kid. And so that's a whole nother story. But what happened recently, this most recently, is with my youngest son, my last one, who is my baby child. And he was born early. So he's like a preemie baby. So he's smaller than the rest of the children in his grade, outside maybe one or two or something like that. And but smart as a whip. And so this school year, but this started with, we'll say, in the past month and a half, there was one incident where he was on the playground, and this particular day, he was off to himself, kind of just, playing, on the playground and running and jumping on the swings and playing with some dirt, whatever. And he found a little toy. Well, these two boys came up to my son, and when they came up to him, they said, "Can we see that?" And he said, "No, I'm playing with it." And so anyway, I'm saying how I would have said it. You don't ask me no other time to play with nothing, you know what I mean? So no. And that's fine that he said no. I don't think he was nasty about it or anything, but that's what he told me, that he was firm about his answer. The answer is no, and that's that. So one of the boys hauled off and snatched out of his hand. And this is two kids versus one. Remember that my child is smaller than most of the kids, so they bigger than him. And they, just take the whatever it was, this little toy that he found on the playground, start playing with it right in his face. It got him upset. And so then when I picked him up from school that day, I knew something had happened at the school, because you know your children. And so just right when he got in the car, and I looked over at him, and I was like, "What happened at school today?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing." And I could tell his eyes was like, just like, so yeah, I could see almost into his soul or something, because that's my baby, and I know how he would be if something happened. So then anyway, I kind of just, continue to drive. I was like, well, I know there's something that's going on because I'm your mom, and then beyond that, I'm not going to pressure you to talk about it. I said, but when you feel like, talking about it, I want you to tell me about it. So instead of us going straight home, I just kind of keep driving around. We're just playing music, just having this little light conversation to get him to warm up and tell me what was going on with this bullying situation. Because although that doesn't seem like it's bullying, it is. When two people walk up on you, even as an adult, if two people walked up on me and I was using something or had something in my hand, and two people, and they bigger than me and all that, and they come and they say, "Can I have that sandwich," or so that half a sandwich you got left? And I say, "No, because I'm eating it." And they just snatch it from me. "Well, you just bullied me." And so that's in turn what happened to my son. And, it's just something that is not going to happen again. So moving on down, he ends up telling me the story, and that's what it was, is that, he was like, "Well, these two kids," and such like that. So that's the first incident. This all is within the past probably month and a week, we're gonna say. And so then I'm looking at this, I'm sitting in my car, I'm here to come, my daughter is surprising me, but she probably hold on. And so then the next incident that happened was that he and he's off to school this year by himself, by the way, because my last three children, they stair step. So they was always in school. So that gave him some kind of comfort, you know what I mean, knowing that he ride the bus with his big sisters and stuff and like that. But this year he's on his own, on the bus in the morning, then I pick him up. But during the day, he don't see none of his family at the school like he used to last year. And so then after that, this next bullying incident was with, this is a different child. But what ended up happening with this next child is that for some reason he just went up to my son and was like, cuss him out, as my son said. You stanky, and you're not no good at the game, and all this kind of stuff. And because they was playing a game, oh yeah, they said, "You stink at this and you can't play this game with us." In the meantime, my son, you know what I mean, he want to participate too. Just because he's small, you should never underestimate people, in life. Because just because he is smaller and stuff like that does not mean that if you tell him how to play the game, then why wouldn't you let him participate? You ain't told him nothing about the game. It's just like he goes over there, he joins in the game. He's not aware, he never played the game before. Everybody got to learn somewhere. And so then the boy just told him, you know, you stink at the, and started going in and cussing him to Kingdom Come My Sunset with full blown profanity. And it's like, what are you learning at home? So then let me get on and get to the worst of this bullying situation that has happened. And I'm going to tell y'all like this. It made me so mad I could almost spit nails, you know, because basically I'm at home. This particular time, I get a call, and none of the first two bullying incidents in the past month or so was with the same kids. So that's a good thing. So it's not repetitive, but it's not a good thing that is happening at that school. And I'm going to tell you what I did to stop it. And so in just a moment. So then we end up getting a call. I get a call. And my husband, he's back from deployment, and it's the principal, it's the assistant principal. And she calls me and she's like, yes, I just wanted to let you know what's happened today. And I'm like, whenever I see that phone number coming in that says my son's school or my any of my kids' at school, I answer the phone like, what's wrong? So anyway, basically I'm like, well, spit it out. What's wrong? You calling me for a reason? It was my son hurt. What has happened? I'm not thinking yet again. He's just been bullied all again. And so then after that, the lady goes on to tell me that that well, there was an incident where no, this is the principal, excuse me. So this is the actual principal, not assistant, which makes no difference really, but let me tell you what she did. So then she goes on to say, well, there was an incident. She's talking for 5 minutes before she spits it out because she's trying to figure out how to word it to cover up for the fact that yet again I'm calling to tell you that your child is being bullied at my school. And so anyway, she goes like this. She says, well, I'm calling to let you all know that and my intuition, it sure did, it kicked right on in. And thank you for understanding, because that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what I'm supposed to be for my children as well as the rest of us, an advocate. That's what the position God put us in. We're advocates for our children. You know, and so then after that, the lady, she turns around and just beating around the bush. So I'm like, you know, what's going on? You know, I'm like that. And so then she says, well, today there was a small incident. The lunch at lunchtime, it can get very, very rowdy, you know, ma'am, and things like that. And so your son Don was accidentally shoved, it appears, by another student, because the student, it was two students in front of him in the lunch line, and one of them forgot his basketball, so that you know how you go to recess after lunch. And so one of them forgot their basketball, and now that they forgot their basketball, they had to go out of the line to get it. And when they came back in line, Donathan said, no cutting in the line. And and at that point, the child, you know, may have accidentally bumped into him. Donathan said that he, you know, shoved him and he pushed him and all that. So I asked him, how exactly did he shove you and shake you and push you? And so then at that point, when he said that he shoved him, I wanted to get some clarification. And so with that, I asked him to just kind of, you know, demonstrate how it was done. And I asked him, are you sure that he shook you? And are you sure that he did it like that? And at the end of it all, your son said that the student actually, um, actually just bumped him by accident. And so it was just a little incident that I wanted to make you aware of. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, hold on. I said, first of all, My son, he was instructed by me based on the fact that all this bullying has been going on in this short window of time. He has been instructed by me that he is to call me um, if there is any type of incidents. So I'm curious as to why I wasn't a part of the conversation that you had with him at the time of right after the incident. Why wasn't I part of the conversation? Y'all stay with me because this is finna get good. Come and get in the car with me. Let me finish this video. So, um, so then the lady, she says, the reason why I'm on live on YouTube, and then I gotta tell the story of how to stop that bullying mess. This is my daughter that I was telling y'all about. Y'all have seen her. She does work for my videos. A lot of times she does the editing and stuff like that. But I'm gonna show y'all her right quick. She may chime in. I don't know. But let's see if we could get her in there. Anyway, it's not letting me. Needless to say, we're going to turn it. Tell them hi. Get up in there. Say hi. Just say hi. You do that? Oh, okay, there. We're back, y'all. I hope it's back right where we was. So then the next thing is that I'm sitting there and I'm being patient as I can, but my heart is beating because since he's been bullied those 2 times, and I just short window, I told him, I said, whenever they call it, if this happens again, because you don't want to plan for it, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen again. I'm thinking, well, it probably ain't, but just in case, I want you to ask to call your mother before you talk to the principals and counselors, and they can put me on the speakerphone, and then that way I can hear the conversation. Because by my son being, one thing is younger, smaller, and stuff like that, sometimes there are people who will treat him like almost like a baby or something, and he does not like that, and he doesn't respond to it very well, at all. And so I stopped her. And my husband, by then, I call him in like, come here, listen to this call on speaker. And so then I said, you know, Mrs. whatever your name is. I can't even think of her name and don't want to think of it because it makes me mad. And so anyway, I said, this story is not adding up because as you're talking, you're saying 2 and 3 different things happen out of one mouth. So that to me is like a contradiction, and I am not trying to, question your not your motive. What is the word I'm looking for? I'm not trying to question your integrity or whatever when it comes to the incident, but the situation is that you're telling me that there was witnesses, and I've talked to the witnesses, and these witnesses say that this child pushed your son first, and then after that, your son pushed him back. And so anyway, I said, then the next thing you're saying is that he said he was accidentally bumped. Then, as you're talking to me, you're telling me that you're asking him the same question in 10 different ways. I said, you were trying to trip him up. You wanted him to change his mind about how he felt and about what actually happened to him. That is the situation, and that is where it stands as far as I am concerned. And then she goes on and she starts that cutting me off stuff. In the meantime, I sat there through it. And I sat there and listened to her mess for a full probably 10 minutes before I would even respond. I didn't even interrupt her. I didn't even say, like that, I'm just listening very intently, myself and my husband. Now, there's cases when my husband's more rational, and there's cases when I'm more rational when it comes to matters of life and our children especially. But in this case, we was both that frustrated. So it was like you had to calm down because you can get more information and you can know which way to turn. And so the next thing that happens is that when she starts that interrupting me, I get mad. And as I'm getting mad, by then my husband has calmed down and he chimed in. And he's like, well, what my wife is saying is that if there were witnesses to say that this is what happened to our child, and this is what happened with the incident of the pushing, shoving, and taking them and shaking them, and then just pushing them back like that, and whatever. Then why are you now telling us that the child is denying it? And so typically, when a child denies it or someone denies something, then they didn't do it. And so then jump back in because I'm like, high five, thank you, husband. I jump back in and the conversation, but you got to be calm with these people. And I'm gonna be honest, where we live is not that many children that have any color to their skin. And so there's a difference that is made with school districts like that or under certain circumstances, which we'll go there and touch on. But in the meantime, when my husband said to that woman, so why then did you tell us what the witnesses say if now you're then saying that the boy denied it? And then I jump in and I'm like, yes, ma'am. I was like, because now you do understand how many killers and murderers are intentions. Yeah, I didn't want to question her intentions because the people around at the schools around here and stuff, they don't look like us, you know what I mean? Or like me. They don't look with tint, so they try to defend these little kids that do these certain things. And I know I hate to say it because it sounds like, oh, you're playing the race card. No, I'm not playing the race card. I'm playing the what is right and wrong card. And so needless to say, um I then go ahead and tell her, um, there's a lot of murderers that have denied what they have done, and there's a lot of evidence that shows that they killed the person or stabbed the person or whatever they did. There's a lot of people who lie to get themselves out of trouble. So in the meantime, um, I now feel like you are not going to handle this situation accordingly. This is the third incident. This is what I'm saying to the principal. And I'm being, as calm as I can, but I'm talking about like this by now because I'm frustrated. I said, this is the third incident that has happened in a matter of 1 month. What is going on at that school to where the students, my student, among other students, are being picked on and bullied, and it is not being addressed to where it stops? I said, because you all have an anti-bullying, a whole section in the student handbook that is not being followed, apparently. Because if the child last week that cussed my son out, talking about he don't know how to play the game and all that, and cussed him filthy down like that, when you did not punish that child, that told that child and it told other children, feel free to do it again. And then when the other incident, when it's 2 against 1, they snatch something from my son, it's like, oh, come in the office and make an apology. You didn't obviously handle that situation to where it don't happen again. Do you not see the pattern that is happening? If I get one more phone call saying that my son has been being bullied, then I am then going to call my buddies down at the news, the channel, whatever channel. I call all the channels if this continues. And When I said that, I meant it. All of a sudden, her ears perked up and she gets mad. Oh no, I am handling the situation, and I was just letting you know that I'm not done handling it, and all of that, and so on and so forth. So I said, listen, I said, you're being very condescending when you were speaking to me. You're cutting me off. You're cutting off my husband, who is much more patient than me. You're just over talking us and things like that. So, what I'm going to do is involve the district administration, and I will get to the bottom of it through them and make sure that there is some punishments that are, what is the word I'm looking for? Help me with the word that I'm looking for. That makes sense for the crime. Shit, my daughter's criminal justice. What is that word? They gonna tell me, my friend. Yeah, we can say that for now. That we want the punishment to fit the crime. I mean, not the crime, but anyway, we want something to happen and to be done. And so the next thing that they turn around, and the child turns around. I mean, the lady turns around, and when I said I'll have the district administrators handle the situation, she said, I am the administrator, and so that made me feel like even more angry than I already was. And so when I became even more angry than I already was, I end up telling the lady, I said, you are not the superintendent of that district, are you? She was like, no, but I am an administrator. I said, and you as an administrator of the school, the principal, you are not making sure that my son feels as comfortable as he feels at home. And so with that being said, I'm going to hang up with you, and I'm going to get the district on the line right now. And so then she's like, well, go ahead, and you know how you could feel it when somebody popping their neck, like, I go have at it. And this is through the phone, I felt that. Even in a text, you could feel all that attitude. And so then moving on, about, we're going to say 10 minutes later, the principal calls me back. And the principal goes ahead and tells me that, yes, well, when it comes to this situation, and she's just real, instead of her acting all hype and hyphy, whatever it's called, okay, she's talking more like, oh, hi, ma'am. You could tell she's even trying to smile through the phone and reach out and hug me, because she don't want me to call the district. Because see, the district knows that I will take it up with the district if you mess with any one of my children, and you're gonna definitely enforce this stringent no bullying policy that you have in place. That's what's going to happen. And so the next thing is that the what am I trying to say? When she calls back 5 minutes later, she didn't say, oh, we'll talk, I'll call you right back. She calls back immediately. Oh, well, what I did is I went ahead and I called down to the security, because I'm going to look at the security footage, and she's panicking now because she knows that when I talk about calling the news, I will call the news station, and the school's going to reply and no comment, because there's nothing to comment. Okay, but all that you keep picking and you keep picking. My son is getting to the point where he's uncomfortable to even go to that damn school in the morning. And he's getting to the point where he wants to change schools. And no child, he shouldn't have to feel like that. No child should have to feel like they are in a situation where their teachers are not handling them with the same amount of care that they would handle their own kids. No child should ever have to be going through any bullying situation. My daughter that's sitting right next to me was bullied to the point where it carried on to where she didn't even start college in time. She took a whole semester off to try to recuperate from the fact that she had been through all that bullying in high school, and she didn't want to associate with nobody. She didn't want to be around people like that. She was at a point where she was going to live in the dorms, and she didn't know who she could trust or not trust as far as friendships are concerned. And that's why I say that bullying crap will carry you right all up and through your adulthood and stuff. And so then, after the lady figures out that I'm serious and I'm not playing these games about my child anymore, she starts trying to make nice and be so polite and kind. You weren't being polite and kind when you tried to negate how my son felt and take away his feelings. You weren't being nice and kind when I come to find out that my son did exactly what I said to him and asked to use the phone to call one of his parents because there is an incident. And in the meantime, there has been people who have told me, oh, you make a big deal over small things when it comes to your children. Oh, you're overprotective. Well, you know what? Say what you want because I sure the hell am. I am overprotective of my children. And more people need to be protective of their children and let these districts know, and these principals, these counselors, and all these different people, that we need to let them know that we will not tolerate our children being picked on to the point where they can't even learn comfortably because they don't want to partake in any activities, and they don't even want to be associated with anything that has to do with a small group, or even just go outside, even to eat lunch. You know what I mean? There are children that sit in a corner by themselves and eat their lunch because they're scared to go sit at a table with any other children. I know it because I have seen it growing up and I have seen it now, because that's what one of my daughters was doing. She wouldn't even sit at the lunch table. Nobody told her necessarily you can't sit at the table, but all that and mean looks and stuff, that had all of that, even that small stuff. That's that bullying that we as parents cannot tolerate. We cannot take our children being bullied. You have to stop it and nip it in the bud. And I don't care who feels like I go too far with my children and whatever you're talking about. At the end of the day, I will always do that. I will go further. And have you ever been in a situation when you went to a store and somebody is giving you real bad attitude and you're like, I want to see the manager, you know what I mean? And they're like, I am the manager. And you know what I tell them? You don't own the store though. So who's the GM? The GM don't even own the store. GM acting like that, then I want to see the person ahead of the GM. I will sit down, take out a pen and paper and write to corporate if that's what I need to do. Because my children, I am not going to have them being bullied, and I hate to see other children being bullied. And whenever you parents get those student manuals, read them, especially the part about the bullying. And if your child gets bullied, you reference that manual that district wrote themselves. And what you need to do is go ahead and make them follow the rules that they put out there in writing. That's exactly what you do. And when you hold their feet to the fire, I bet you your children won't be bullied no more. I bet you they won't. And when I had another incident 2 years ago with my daughter, where I was getting no results from the school, no results from the counselor. I mean, I went from the counselor to the vice principal to the principal, and I'm going to tell you like this, I was getting no help, no results. And all of a sudden, I just told I was like, you know what, this is not working any longer. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the superintendent. I got in my vehicle, started it up myself and my husband. We drive over to the superintendent's office. Guess who's waiting there? The principal. Beat us there. Because once you tell them that, look, I know the steps and the protocol to take when it comes to my children, my child, and this is what I'm going to do. Now, if a child walks by your kid and steps on their toe or something, or accidentally bumps into them, hey, that's different. I don't want to hear. I don't want my child like tell her, hey, they bumped me. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying these repeat offender type kids is the ones that need to be dealt with. So what ended up happening is that the principal at the school finally goes ahead and get a whole, I told her, I was like, I don't want to deal with you no more. So she get the vice principal, who, I actually do like a lot better. She gets and I'm telling you this too, because I didn't never tell you this whole story. She gets the vice principal to call me. The vice principal is like, oh yes, after reviewing the tape and things like that, where he did actually grab your son, and he shook him and he pushed him really hard, and your son pushed him once, as though to stand his ground, and then the child just continued to really push him to where your child stormed off and went in the hallway and basically missed lunch. And so with all that being said, it's like, it took for me to tell you that I'm going to call the news people. It took for me to tell you that I'm going to have the superintendent's office go ahead and deal with this. It took for me to do all of this for you to even try to get to the bottom of a situation that needs to be dealt with, so that when children act out and do certain things, you have to set an example. You have to set an example. And sometimes if you got to suspend the child or whatever they do nowadays to these children, in-house suspension, put them in time, whatever, you have to do those kind of things, because it sets an example for these children to cut out that bad behavior. And even going back to the other two children, you know what my son says? Or the other, four other besides this incident. My son says, oh, they're really polite now. I was like, oh, just to you, or they're just polite now to everyone. They treat others nice too, and they don't be cussing at nobody and calling them names. I'm like, exactly. You know what I mean? Because that's what needs to happen. You know what I mean? And I don't care who tells me that, because one of my cousins, I have a cousin who sat up there and went back and told my uncle how I called the news on the school to make a big deal of something that was happening with my son. And I was like, my uncle was like, you called the school and all that? And I was like, I sure did. And after I called the school, then I called the administrator, and I was like, I took the proper steps. I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I was like, uncle, that's what's going to happen again if anything happens with my children. And so then my uncle, he was like, well, it's up to you to protect your children, but you can, basically he was saying I could be coddling my children, and in so many words. And I was like, then I'd be coddling my children. Because if that's what it takes. If I need to go and sit in the classroom and observe how these children are being taught, or, namely mine, I can't protect all children. I wish I could. But you know what I am going to do, with the permission of the superintendents? I am going to rewrite just certain portions of and this is something that other parents can do as well, because you have every right to do it. I'm going to rewrite or reword some of um the manual that is containing the part about the bullying in the school. And then I'm going to take it to the district, and I'm going to ask that they include certain things, because this is supposed to be the best district, to send your kids to. And you know what? This district has failed me over and over again with two of my children. They have continued to fail me. Now the other school that did fail me, they have gotten things right, and they have cleaned up a whole lot of things. But my children do still hear this stuff, you know forget vulgarity. They are hearing stuff, like the N word being used. And when kids are they're going to school, and you have to hear somebody, I don't care in what context you saying the N word, it's inappropriate to be said by any, we should say by anybody. Now, I'm from old school, and people say that in a playful way, but other people say it, sometime in a hurtful way. And with all I'm saying is that, you know, that needs to be addressed. These schools have to be held accountable. If your child is not treated fairly, then you better make sure. So I made sure that I did what I needed to do when it came to my child and that bullying crap that was going on. And at the end of the day, the child will be facing, some serious punishment. I'm sure I could guess what it is. I'm not going to say that, what it is, but yes, I do know that they're going to definitely handle it. But it is a shame that these teachers and principals and stuff will corner a child that is a well behaved child, and they will have that child to, retract what they said to basically protect other children. The real reason why these principals and stuff, they don't want it to appear that way, is that every suspension that happens in their school under their watch, it like kind of goes against them. That's like a mark against the administration of the school, and it makes them look bad. So they wanted it to be like, oh, it wasn't much, right? To my son, it just was a little rowdy, right? And then, to make him say that, then they don't have to punish the child accordingly, is what I'm trying to say. And so, when they have these, certain amount of punishments that happen to these children, and in-house suspensions, or if the child, you know what I mean, it all falls back on the principal. Like, well, where were you when these students wrote all this graffiti in the bathroom? Where were you? And then, sometimes these principals can lose their jobs when there's a lot of mess, and there's a lot of bullying, and there's a lot of, like, even if the children are failing a lot of the tests and stuff, they look at the principal. And that's why these principals don't want to sometimes protect these children out here. They would rather not protect our children to make it look like the school is, just doing well. They don't want you to write nothing bad about them either. And they certainly don't want the bulldog me on them. And they don't want me to call my friends over at the news station and tell them, yes, this is what's happening at this school and stuff like that. But what I will say, the answer to this bullying is to always, always, when it comes to your children, make it to where they're comfortable to talk to you. And when your children are comfortable to talk to you, you know, get them to a point where you always have that open door relationship with your children. Some people say that you don't need to be friends with your kids and stuff like that. But you know what? I disagree. But I think that there's a line that you set for with your children to make sure that your children know that my mom, my dad, they have my back, and I could go to them and I could talk to them about anything, even if it's a girl child, like even if it's like that child need birth control or something, I can, go to my mom. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. We could laugh and stuff like that, but it just have to be where your children know, um, you cannot disrespect uh mama and daddy. You can't disrespect them and do them any kind of way and go hitting them and all that. And so with that being said, always, if another thing is, if you are able to go, be a hands-on parent. That's what I want to try to say. Be a hands-on parent. The reason why I say that is because it's important that these schools know that even when you're not there, oh, you're there. You're present for your child. And, I told my son, and I told the school, if, and I hope that it never happens again, but if anything happens like this again, my son is to call me, and I will either come in person or by conference, because I want to listen to these questions. I don't want him to ever feel pressured into changing his story so that it looks like everybody's fine at our school. We don't have any incidents. We don't have no suspensions on our record. Hey, got my job for next year back. We don't want those kind of things. Okay? So in the meantime, I do want my daughter to share just this one story, not naming names, but I do want her to tell you a little bit about that bullying that she went through when she was at that high school, because she was a new student. And then even when she went to college, that kind of like that bully behavior. So I want her to chime in. I don't know why it won't let me rotate the screen, but maybe I'm turning it wrong. Let me see there. See, it says rotate device. What does that mean? Can't put it on. Here, I'll just turn it towards you. I don't know why it won't let it, but I'm going to turn it towards you there. Let me take this stuff down. Okay, go ahead. Tell the people that when you was bullied and how that felt.
Oh,
well, and how I handled it.
Well, I was like a freshman or whatever, but like I was like new to the district, because usually like when I was a kid or whatever, like I'm from District 2. But
don't tell the district of the name of the school. But anyway, you good. Keep on.
Oh, okay. So I was from a different district, but then I was like new to the district, because we had moved or whatever, and then I went to school because like my best friend was there and blah 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 and all that stuff, and it was just like closer or whatever. And so then after that, like we got to the school, and I was a freshman. I like knew no one. Like there was not even, well, maybe there's like one other person that I knew besides my best friend or whatever. And like I didn't know anyone else. And I remember like I was in this class. Oh man, what was that class? Maybe parenting? I don't know what class I was, but anyways, and there was this girl, and she just always used to look at me, like, I don't know, she just always used to be looking at me, but like she was much like bigger than me, and like she was in the grade higher than me, so like if I was a freshman, she was a sophomore, and stuff. And then she, I don't know, like one day she just like called me over there and was just like asking me questions about like random stuff, but like,
and like sexuality, which was weird.
Oh yeah, and then like sexuality and stuff, and that was like, what? Like I don't even. First of all, like I don't know you like at all. I've never even like seen you before until like this school, so like I don't understand why. I was there doing my work, whatever it was that I was doing. And then like I was just like, what? Like just
confused. And so then get to the point where she got mad at you because you didn't really know what to say, and then she got mad and started that bullying.
Like I don't really know like what you're asking me. Like it was just kind of like, what? Like okay, like I'm just here or whatever. So like, what do you want from me? Like, what do you want my answer to be? So then she's like getting mad. Then after that, like she just kept like, she always looked at me and she always like had a problem. And then she like, I don't know what it was, but like she would like.
And then mind you, the girl was one. There was two girls, but and then one of them was a trained. She was a professional. Well, what is that called?
They
Semi-pro, a
say.
boxer.
They say she was.
But needless to say, I mean, that's pretty scary. That's two girls and they're trained
But
fighters.
like the one,
You don't know if they are or not.
like her cousin or whatever she was, she didn't even have an issue with me. That's what was crazy. Like I'm saying, like Mom, literally, like this girl, the girl who you're saying was the whatever she was or whatever, she didn't even have a. You're finna hit that.
No, I'm not back anymore.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, like she didn't even have like a problem with me. She would like wave at me, especially when she was by herself. Like I remember we went to homecoming and she was like waving at me, and I was like looking around like me,
because you know they don't like you,
for some weird reasons, so,
right? For no reason.
So she would just like, and I could tell like she like felt bad. I could see like the girl talking to her about me, and then like
is that the boxer one would feel bad?
No, the boxer one was the one who was bullying me.
But what about the one when I got tired and we had the meeting? That was
the one.
She was a boxer?
Apparently.
That big old girl, I always thought it was the other one that was the boxer. Wow.
No, the other girl, she was cool, but yeah, and then like, I don't know, like, it was just weird.
But you know what? People will do things to impress other people too.
But she was like, she never ever said anything. She never was mean to me. She just would like listen to her friend or her cousin.
But remember, they would kind of laugh or whatever. The one that we had the meeting with was the bully.
She was the bully. She was the one, like, she would turn like all the other girls against me. But like the one, like her and her cousin or whatever, like she didn't never have a problem with me. Like she was just like, like she was just always like wave and like all that stuff. And I know like she probably felt bad because like, dang, like my cousin's being so mean to you for no reason or whatever. Like she was just like, I literally saw her one time like talking about me, and then she was just like, wow.
And then you know how that you would say that they would talk like extra loud so that you could hear.
Yeah, it was so stupid. Like
why would you do that? And I mean, like you want to hurt somebody's feelings.
I mean, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway.
But yeah, and so then like she was just doing that or whatever, and so then like we had a meeting or whatever. So like I was friends with this girl, but then like she ended up somehow being friends with the bully. Like it was just weird. The whole thing was just weirdo behavior. And yeah, and then like we ended up having a meeting or whatever, and like even in the meeting, I'm talking, this girl's mom was there, and she was like, I don't know why every single time that you come to a new school or you meet someone new, you always feel the need to bully these girls. I don't know.
Even the mom.
I mean, she was not like on her child's side, like.
And that's why I wanted to meet with the mom, because sometimes the school, the principal, the counselor, they don't know them kids like that. You know what I mean? The parents don't know.
Exactly. And like her mom was just, she didn't try to like sugarcoat none of that. She was like, stop bullying this girl. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you do this all the time. And all the girl could do was just sit there and look crazy. Like,
the girl's like, she didn't even care though. If you think about it, the girl, she didn't even care.
No, after that, she left me alone.
She better.
Yeah.
And that, y'all, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. You see, the story ends like that. After you get them parents involved, you know, I bet they'll leave your child alone.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, it was just, the whole thing was just stupid and weird. Like, I missed like 100 days freshman year because of that.
She missed a lot.
I passed everything, but I passed with like C's and D's. Like, there was no A's, B's, or none of that. It was wild. And so then after that or whatever, I went to college. And then like we was cool. Like me and my friends was like cool or whatever. So then I transferred high schools or whatever. And then
why did you want to transfer school? Because because you had those your other friends. Well, after the bullying stopped, it was like you had the other friends that told you, let's come to our school, and that were like kind of
because I didn't even know them until I transferred.
Well, why did you want to transfer? It was just closer, and then
I mean, it was closer, and then regardless, I just hated that school anyway. Like, just everything about it was so ghetto. Like, I just hated it so much. So I was like, man, like, get me out of here. So then I was excited to transfer. Then I transferred with my friends, and then we went to college. But then, like, they just like there was
bullying too, which is crazy.
And she just had like some weird problem with like the fact that like I'm so close with my mom. Like, she would always be like, you need to just like back away from your mom, and y'all just don't need to be so close, and this and this and that. Like, what?
And that's odd. And you know why she wanted you to back away from her? Not her. I'm saying her, like it's not me.
You.
Yeah, she wanted you to back away so she can influence you to do all that stuff that they was up at that school wanting to do. You know what I mean? Because they was
It was
wilding
so
and all
weird.
that, and the girls that wanted my daughter to not be close with me, they was not close with their parents. You know, like
But I
not
mean, the
well,
one
one
who
of them was.
really was not close at all with their mom, like
Don't
nearly
say their
didn't
name.
like her mom or whatever. Like she never said anything. Like she never was like, yeah, like
Yeah, it
no, she
wasn't really her, but
never
you
said
know, when you
anything. It was weird.
partake, you taking a part in the bullying. You know what I mean? Like you're going along with it. Like, okay, these girls convinced my daughter, and then that's why I said bullying. It don't ain't just with little kids. Adults get bullied every day. And what I was going to tell you or remind you of is that you know how when they convinced you to move into the room,
Oh, so
tell
before
that.
this or whatever, so like the first year, and it was fire. Like the
And she
first
went to
year of
college. She
college,
went to
that was the best
high
time of my
school with
life.
them.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
just say that right now. That was like the best thing I've ever done in my life, right? So like I lived, it was like a Jack and Jill, right? So like I lived in this dorm with this person, and then my two friends lived on the other side of the. So it was cool. Like I didn't have to see them all the time. I could ignore them if they were like trying to text me, call me. If they wanted to go somewhere I didn't want to go, like blah blah. I could just be in my room chilling, right? But then they like convinced me to like go into a third person room or whatever. First of all, they picked my bed for me. What are you doing?
And they tried to give her that. Well, they did kind of give you the worst position.
Yes, because it was like right in the middle. It was hitting the blinds. Like it was just a mess or whatever. Ugh, stupid. Anyways, got over that. And so then after that or whatever, like she was just trying to convince me. Like they would like leave me out of stuff. Oh no, because we went to the gym and you never want to go to the gym. Please. Then
you didn't
actually,
invite her.
then you went to go get your nails done. Mm-hmm. And then you did. So then I just got over it and then I just stopped like talking about it or whatever. So then I started hanging with this other girl. But then she started being
slow down so they could hear. And then what happened?
Then
I don't remember that. And then you hung with somebody else. And then
yes, and then like so I live in the Springs or whatever, but the school was in Pueblo. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Yeah, and so then the school was in Pueblo, right? So the girl, she was from like Kansas or something, but like her friends, we all went to Pueblo for school. And they would like come out here and start like going to the club and stuff. And it's like, you're in my city and you're telling me you can't even invite me. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, they would do all that kind of stuff too.
And then another.
And they begged you to live in that dorm. They begged you to do that 3-person dorm.
Exactly. It was weird. It was weird. And so, yeah. And then. Yes, and then there was like this other girl. So then, like, because they were like starting, like, they were just like not inviting me anywhere, like, really not talking to me or whatever. Like, I started hanging with this other girl. But then she like plagiarized off of my work and almost got me kicked out of school. Literally, I could have killed her. Like, you just have no idea. Yeah, it was a mess. But anyways, yeah, and so then that got all handled and stuff, and then she got in trouble and all the good stuff. But you know what I mean? Like, it was just back to back to back. It's weird. And then, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and so then like I remember when I moved out of that dorm. So like I moved out of that dorm I think one semester before I transferred to UCCS. I moved out of the dorm and I remember one of them was in the bed, sleep. And then another one was like at her desk, like doing her music thing or whatever. And I remember nobody said anything. Like I packed my bags and then nobody said bye.
They didn't even say, where are you going? They didn't care. And she was in a whole nother city alone.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I was by myself. So then I just never even, like, I had a dorm, but I was, like, forced or whatever to have a dorm anyway. So then I just, like, commuted back and forth to Pueblo whenever I had to.
And then my baby was so sad. Imagine that. Imagine to be bullied to a point where you just would rather drive, you know, X amount of miles to get to school every day than to live in the dorm that you have right there because you're being picked on.
And the dorm I lived in was like it like I didn't even have a roommate. It was by myself. But I still didn't want to be there because it was like stupid. So then sometimes I go to have Andrew come or whatever, but that was like you gotta work.
Yeah.
You can be out there all the time.
I forgot about that almost, how you were just kind of like alone like that. You know what I mean? In that next dorm, because that girl was never there either. Was she even there?
No, they was, and then I don't even know if they were there, but like they were.
And then you seen them too, the girls who convinced you to. No, the ones who begged you to be roommates with them when you would see them.
Oh no, I lived on the other side of like the entire building, so I like.
So you didn't run into them and have class with them? Okay.
No, even like during like when we were friends, like I never had classes with any of them. They had classes, like one class together, but I never had classes with them or whatever because like my major was so different than theirs were. But yeah, like one of them was like she wanted to be a personal trainer, and then the other one wanted to be a nurse or
Yeah.
whatever. And then I was criminal justice, so that's like totally different than the both of those.
Yeah.
I guess probably personal training goes along with nursing or whatever it does, but
yeah.
And so I
You
was
know the anatomy for both
yeah.
of them kinds. Yeah.
Right. So then I was sociology and criminal justice. So like that was totally different. But yeah. But then when I moved into the separate, like the other dorm or whatever on the side of the building by myself, like the girls on the other side, the suite mates or whatever it's called, like they would just choose to blast music at 2 a.m. Like,
and that's if she decided to stay the night there.
Yeah, because
it
like,
was hard on her.
And then after, like, I think I stayed there maybe 3 times. And after that, it was like I was paying for a room for no reason, which I was forced to anyway. I mean, it was just dumb. Like, it was just the whole thing.
That was just a mess and just a messy situation. And then, you know, and then you know what? I'm gonna tell you guys about my bullying experience too. When I was a little girl or whatever, you know, I just kind of like stayed to myself for these very reasons. Yeah, I just kind of like stuck to myself, and so anyway, I guess that was. It's like sometimes, no matter what you choose to do, somebody gonna have a problem with your situation. And so anyway, I chose to kind of stick to myself when I was a child. Now I don't feel I was sheltered. I know I was spoiled as heck, kind of like. So like everything was that I needed was there for me. Like so all my entertainment, you know, I had a stereo TV like most children, you know, back then. But I would go like walking and stuff like that. So I had this sticker book, and where I lived at was like a working class neighborhood, but there was like a foster home up the street, and then there was like another house, and it just had like they had a lot of kids and stuff, right? And so in order to get, because I'm so old, I used to get penny candy. Y'all don't know about that, but some of y'all will. But anyway, I used to go and I used to get me some penny candy and stuff. And it was, you had to go up that hill. And either way, if you went up that hill, you went past the house that had, you know, like a lot of kids and, you know, stuff like that. Or, you checking on that baby? Okay. Don't leave though. Don't leave without me talking to you.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Go get something to eat. And so anyway, there was no way to get to the store with the best penny candy except for to go up the hill. And then on the other hill, because we lived in a hilly area, because we live in the Rocky Mountains, and the other area was a boys' home. And I didn't want to go over there because the boys, they would be like whistling out the window. And it's just, I didn't want to go up there. So I had to take my chances with door number 1, door number 2, which is the lesser of the 2 evils, you know, whatever. And so then I'm walking, and I had like this sticker book that I put together because when you're like almost, because I was almost raised as an only child just because my siblings, they were so much older than me. And so when I was going, you know, up that neighborhood with that book, all of a sudden this gang of kids, there's about 4 girls, they just like surrounded me. And I knew right then that I had to fight back, you know what I mean? I had to learn to protect myself. And so what ended up happening is that they was like, how they did my son, can we have that book? I was like, no, you know, and I said it calmly. To me it was very calm. And then anyway, they started, give me that. They didn't try to touch it or nothing like that. And I was like, I just, all of a sudden I lost my whole mind, and I took that book and I threw it down like that. I was like, if you want it, you could take it. And I was yelling, and none of them took it. They shot out of there. And then that next day, I went to school. I got on that bus to go to school. Did you know what? They all of them wanted to be friends with me. And that's how that bullying stopped. So there is some times when, and you got to teach your kids to stick up for themselves. And I want mine to stick up for themselves. But, I don't want my child or children getting in trouble behind it, because some of these schools, they say if somebody hit them, but you hit them back, then you get in the same punishment because you fought back, and that's called self-defense. So in the meantime, that was a long story time, and what I want y'all to take away from it is don't never take no for an answer when it comes to your seeds and your children. Don't take no from an answer from these principals and these administrators and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, God assigned you these children, and you are to advocate for your babies. So that is what you are to do. You don't have to be up there cussing, fussing, and raising all kind of hell and stuff. And it makes me so frustrated that when you do want to stand up for your children, and maybe you are a black person or something, and you get labeled like you're an angry black mom, or whatever. Just like what the lady, Miss Carmen, and her son was just brutally, he was, the child had to have been brutally murdered. That's what happened. Is in my heart, that's what I feel. And just like that woman, when she said what she said about, I was, I just kind of like let them call me instead of, reaching too much out, because, and then, I try to help my peace and bridle my tongue and ask God to, guide me in what I said, just what she was saying very eloquently. It is true that that's the way that, some people have to behave, because if you respond any other way, then it's like, oh, you was an angry black woman. Oh, you do love to go off. You love to argue, fuss, and fight, and blah, blah. And that is not what it is. It is that sometimes you have to be firm. It does not take you to raise all kind of hell and all kind of Cain to get your point across. But you get that point across and get the manuals and you read it. And when they say that, oh, we took care of it. Did you take care of it in the way that you said you're going to take care of it, according to your non-bullying policy practices that you have in place for your whole school district? Did you handle it like that? If they can't answer yes, they did, then they didn't handle it. So anyway, that's all for now. And the next video, we're going to actually go into prayer. If anyone want to head on over there, we're going to pray over our children. And there's just a lot going on in the world, and we're going to offer up prayer. Okay, so in the meantime, God bless your lives and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.